Hey guys, I'm just posting this at the start of every video now before my intro, just to let you guys know that I am unable to live stream for at least 7 days. The channel has 2 copyright strikes, is at risk of being taken down. I have a new one, so go and check out the most important video ever on my channel. Link is in the description for that. Anyway guys, let's get into another video. Thanks for watching. G'day guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be ranking the top 10 films of 2019. I did it for 2017, I did it for 2018, which had very short views. I think it only had like 30 views. The video didn't do very well, but I'm back again with it. I'm looking forward to getting into it. I have watched movies this year consistently as much as possible. I think there's a few movies I've missed out on that would be in the list, maybe like Ready or Not, The Irishman. I've heard these movies are good. And then there's movies like 1917 that I really want to see, but it doesn't release in Australia until January next year. But anyway guys, this is my opinion purely based on 2019. Let's get into the top 10 films of 2019, but first, some honourable mentions. So on to the honourable mentions. Honourable mention number 1 for me is Angry Birds 2. I wasn't expecting a lot. I did enjoy the first Angry Birds movie back, I believe it was 4 years ago. I think it was released in 2015, so quite a big gap. I don't know why, but I actually kind of enjoyed this film a lot. I thought the cast was great. The story was just easy to follow, and in relation to a kids movie, I think it was one of the best of the year. Have you seen Angry Birds? Let me know. I haven't seen this on anyone else's list. That's a little bit interesting. Second honorable mention that I have is Toy Story 4. There's a lot of issues that I have with this film, and it will probably be just like another film in this list, in the worst or most disappointing. I'm still deciding whether to put it in which category, but Toy Story 4 wrapped up the Toy Story franchise. Doesn't look like we'll get another film. Brought back the characters after a substantial amount of time, and it was good. The other honourable mentions is 2. Very hard not to put either of these in the list. I just think the top 10, it took me a while to think of these. I have Shazam. Shazam, again, wasn't expecting much. I think the second or first trailer was like, okay, I'm getting into it. And I went in and I really enjoyed this. I came out, it was a fun movie. It was a good DC film as well. Knowing that it's a DC film is a big step. It seems like they've taken a kind of step into comedy, and I feel like DC was better at the darkness, but this film really was balanced and worked. And Zachary Levi, I loved him in Chuck, so it was great to see him in another role. And my last honourable mention is John Wick Chapter 3. This film was very good. Sets up a 4th film. I will not spoil much of it. It was very dark, gritty, violent, just like John Wick should be. And Chapter 4 will actually be going against The Matrix 4, which will have Keanu Reeves as well. I had to have a lot of thought about this, but at number 10 in my top 10 films of 2019, it has to be there. Even though I am on the side where I didn't particularly like this film, I have Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Just like Toy Story 4, there's a lot of issues, but I do think that the good actually does just outweigh the bad. I've only seen the film once, and I will be seeing it again within the next 2 weeks when my mate gets back from Mexico, and I am looking forward to seeing it again, dissecting it, but I won't spoil too much. But for what the characters had, they did a good job. The acting for the most part was good. The story was a little bit messy, but still enjoyable. And the fact that it wrapped up a 40-year-old franchise, and in some ways it was disappointing, but a lot of the time I feel like Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker was also satisfying. I can't not say that I didn't have a good time in this film. Yes, there are things that frustrate me, but if you take those parts out and you focus on the good parts of this movie, I guess you can put it in one of the top films of the year. At number 9, a film I was not expecting a lot from. I have not liked Disney live action film for the last couple of years, and there are a couple this year and I found them disappointing, but for some reason I felt like this film was actually really good, and that was Aladdin. One thing I will speak about is Naomi Scott, who played one of the main characters in Power Rangers, which is an okay film from 2017, is becoming a very good actress. She was very good in the role of Jasmine. The issue that I have with this film is Jafar. I didn't like the acting from Jafar. The storyline was good. It was a great environment, setting up Saudi Arabia, and the actor that played Aladdin himself was pretty good. I forget his name at this current state, but I feel like the cast did a great job, and props to Disney for actually pulling out a good live action film. I actually really enjoyed this one, and I feel like a lot of people will be disappointed, but if you think of the live action movies that Disney's created and then you compare it to what they've done with it, especially Will Smith as the genie, we've seen how good Robin Williams is. I wouldn't say it's as good as the original or better, but I do think it's an enjoyable film for a year that wasn't so great in live action film. Coming in at number 8, I have Jumanji: The Next Level. Now, I love Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. I didn't expect much from it. Now, this I was a little bit hyped, and I came out a little bit disappointed, but I felt like it was also very good. Danny DeVito was very comedic. This was Jack Black's last film. I'm not sure if it's last comedy film or last movie acting role ever, which is very sad. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, he is in too many movies lately, and we need a break from him, in my opinion. Kevin Hart, as always, purely funny. Karen Gillan was great again in the role. This movie had a few twists and turns that I guess a few of them were predictable, but there were some things that really surprised me and I liked it. It also had a post-credit scene, so if you haven't seen the film, make sure you stay behind after the credit, which could connect to the original film or set up a third film, or I guess you can say fourth. This is the third Jumanji film now. But I enjoyed it. The world of Jumanji is good. I can't say what I want to right now because it's considered as a spoiler. But there's an idea that I think is going to happen. And let's just say I'm a big fan of the originals, or the original. And if they do that type of storyline, I would look forward to that being the conclusion of these films, because they have turned them into these comedy pieces that are enjoyable to watch. And this felt very different to the first film. It was called The Next Level, and it proved that it was harder for them to do. And the person who played the villain was from Game of Thrones, the Hound, which was pretty cool, I thought as well. But new cast members were enjoyable, and I liked Jumanji: The Next Level. It's a great sequel. Coming in at number 7, I have Spider-Man: Far From Home. This was the first MCU film after Avengers Endgame, after the snap, and this movie, in a funny way, dealt with the snap. It was enjoyable. Mysterio was very good in this film. Look, it didn't seem predictable. I mean, you can obviously say that Mysterio is going to be the villain if you've read the comic book, if you've watched the cartoon, if you know Spider-Man. So that there is not a spoiler. If you consider that as a spoiler, get out. Sorry. But no, I think this was an enjoyable film. It was a good follow-up to Spider-Man: Homecoming. It felt like a different story. It also felt like Peter had matured a little bit. All the supporting cast, Happy, MJ. And I didn't really like Zendaya in Spider-Man: Homecoming, but I think they dealt with her character, made her very interesting and very likable in Spider-Man: Far From Home. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with the third film. This movie has a bit of a cliffhanger. If you stick around after the credits, if you haven't seen the post-credit scene, but you've seen Spider-Man: Far From Home, go and watch it, because I know there wasn't a post-credit scene after Avengers Endgame, so I think there's people that would be like, oh, maybe Marvel's not doing these anymore. Well, they are, and this is big. So, yeah, enjoyable. It sets up future Marvel films slowly as well, and as I said, it had a lot to deal with, especially with the snap, the 5-year gap, and it does it very well. Coming in at number 6 is probably my best action movie of the year. If you guys haven't seen this, go and check it out. Liam Neeson's return to action film after about a 4-year break. He basically said he's not coming back, and he did for this film. Now, this had a blackout while I was in it, so that was very frustrating. But when I got to watch the end, I enjoyed how it all wrapped up quite nicely. It was a good story. It had a few shocks for me. It was dark. It was fun. I loved it. And that is Cold Pursuit. Now, Cold Pursuit stars Liam Neeson as a father who is on the wrong side of town, basically, with a bunch of criminals. And the criminals themselves were just threatening and scary. And it was a good, fast-paced film. It was a good action film. Look, when I say fast, there are some sequences that are quite slow, but in regards to the way the story flows, it was enjoyable, and it was just all fun to watch. Now, this film, I don't think many people have seen. I think it goes under the radar. Look, it could even be, in your opinion, the worst film of the year, but for me, I think Cold Pursuit deserves to be number 6. Okay guys, we get into the top 5 now. You can tell that I enjoyed these films as they are higher up on the list. So let's get into number 5. It is Instant Family. Mark Wahlberg, the actress that played Lizzie, and Rose Byrne were fantastic in this film. It was light-hearted, but at the same time, it was very emotional. This film I watched during my cruise back in February, and I have wanted to make a review for this film, and I just didn't know how to dissect it, so here it is. It is one of the best films of the year. It is one of the best films to watch with your family, in my opinion, in the decade. It is just so fun, enjoyable. It is lovely. It is, as I said, light-hearted. There is some sadness to it, but it just comes around. It truly proves that these family movies that were very popular, I think, in maybe 2000, 2010, we had a lot of these type of movies, and we haven't had one in a while. Instant Family just works for what it is, and as I said, Mark Wahlberg and Rose Byrne up there with one of the best, that could be their best film. I love this film so much, and it's just stuck with me for the whole year. I've got it on DVD. I love Instant Family. Coming in at number 4, I have Us. Now, Us is a horror film created by Jordan Peele. I was terrified of this film. The trailers didn't do much in regards to the scariness, but the actual story, and I think even the twist itself, was quite terrifying. It was a genuine horror film. It had very funny moments in it though. There were very comedic moments, and I don't know why, but it really worked. For a horror movie, you don't expect to have too much comedy. I don't know how to talk about this film without spoiling it, but basically there are other versions of people popping up. I'm not going to say whether they're clones, whether they're from another universe, whatever the twist is, but kind of these dark alternate selves. And we've seen this type of storyline in films before. I can't remember a movie that has gone in this direction though. It is very creative. It's original, in my opinion, and as I said, it's quite terrifying. And something happens at the start of the film, and it will not answer until the end of the film, and I think it was enjoyable. Us was very good. Coming in at number 3 is a film that, I don't know why, but I found a little bit disappointing, but it definitely satisfied as well, and that is Avengers Endgame. There is no doubt when people do top 10s, if you're a fan of superhero movies, this film is up you. It is the pinnacle of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It works very well in relation to time travel, and it deals with the snap from Avengers Infinity War very nicely. I think Avengers Infinity War is slightly better than Endgame, and I couldn't put this film at number 1. There were 2 films in front of it for me, but it's a very enjoyable story. There are some very memorable moments. The final battle, even I guess you could say the third half of this film, is just brilliant, action-packed, whereas the first and the middle is slightly slow, but still yet enjoyable. It sums up and ends the Marvel story nicely. It has a gut-wrenching death in the film. I won't spoil it. But if you guys think Avengers Endgame is the best film of the year, you guys are probably right. But there's two films for me that I enjoyed a little bit more, and let's get into those two right now. Coming in at number 2 is Todd Phillips' Joker. Joaquin Phoenix playing the Joker. Who would have thought that he would put in an Oscar-worthy performance? We will have to wait and see whether this film gets an Oscar. The score, the bloody acting, the cinematography, the way this was done, it could be number 1 for me. It was so enjoyable. Look, at films, Joker feels slow, but I would call this film a masterpiece. It was my favourite film of 2019 up until there was one film that I saw where I didn't think Joker could beat it. It was very dark. It was a film that you didn't know what was going to happen next. You could kind of predict, but then when you predicted it, it would just turn it upside down and you'd be unexpected with what was going to happen next. Joaquin Phoenix was very good as the Joker. A lot better than Jared Leto in my opinion, up there with Heath Ledger. I still love Heath Ledger's interpretation of the Joker, as well as Mark Hamill. I love Mark Hamill's Joker. But Joker itself as an origin standalone story was something different that we hadn't seen. And the trailer I wasn't expecting much from, but I came out of this film so happy, and I thought that Robert De Niro was really good as a supporting cast member as well. The twist itself really got to me. I really liked it. And then, as I said, a few predictable twists that were turned upside down, that it kind of leaves you in your own interpretation. It's a very psychological film, and it deals with how you can deal with society as a whole. And it was just enjoyable from start to finish. I loved Joker. Okay guys, let's do it. The best film for 2019 for me was Dr. Sleep. Dr. Sleep dealt with real life issues while creating some horrifying scenes. When I say that, there was some very scary stuff in this film that seemed like they could happen in real life. Rebecca Ferguson as the leader of this, I forget what they called themselves, but this kind of cult that preyed on people who shine, fed off people who shine. Very good villain, and I hope that she plays this role again because she was very captivating. Ewan McGregor himself as Danny Torrance was very good. It was a great follow-up to The Shining. He had kind of he was a father figure to this teenager who also had the shine, called Abra. This movie was kind of slow in setting up the actual story and kind of characters coming face to face with each other, but the way it did it, it was very good. And as I said at the start, it dealt with real life issues. You had alcoholism, you had traumatization, you had the horror, you had, I'm trying to think of the word, but I guess you could say dealing with death, overcoming death, and fear itself. It was very enjoyable. The music itself was very good as well. I felt like I had a really good score, creepy. It used the original. I'm very surprised that this movie bombed at the box office. In relation to the reviews themselves, they haven't been all that bad. It gets an average of 7.5 most places, but for me, it is a pure 10. It is up there with the Joker. It is my film of the year. It uses things from the originals to create nostalgia, but I feel like it doesn't do it in a bad way. There are some films that you see lately that are follow-up sequel or that use in a reboot, they use nostalgia, but this film did it. It was terrifying. It had some very scary moments, and I loved it from start to finish. Anyway, guys, that's going to be it for the top 10 film of 2019. Let me know your list in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys soon.